In the criminal justice system, magically based offenses are considered especially heinous. In Heatherfield, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Special Victims Unit. This is their weirdest story. Yeah, I had to censor it because I don't think YouTube will let me say the line in the first 15 seconds. Okay, so I'm a big fan of Witch. You may have noticed. And I was reviewing every episode in order, but then I realized I wasn't willing to wait 4 years to get to this one, so we're gonna skip ahead because it really stuck to me that this episode is basically taking a break from the biggest problem in these girls' lives being evil princes and witches trying to steal magic for a more mundane problem, being accused of killing their friend and her family. Now, they never say exactly that in the episode, but you tell me how else 5 teenage girls are gonna make a family completely disappear. These detectives enter that basement expecting to find the most grievous scene possible, like they were walking into Asmongold's room. I looked it up, it's worse than I imagined. So, I was watching some clips of Law and Order, and whenever the case involved teenagers in school, I couldn't help but think about this episode, and how well Olivia Benson and co might slot right in and just do a terrible job. Yeah, I enjoy that show, but they find such monumental ways to screw innocent people over, and in the next episode we're just supposed to pretend that didn't just happen. Now, in case you were just curious about the investigation and don't know anything about Witch, here's a quick recap. In season 1, Will, Irma, Taranee, Cornelia, and Hay Lin were chosen to be the guardians of the Veil. Prince Phobos of Meridian was trying to invade other worlds, and their job was to close the holes in a barrier between those worlds so he couldn't. Beyond that, they also had to help the rebellion try and overthrow the evil prince. Eventually, they learned that Cornelia's best friend, Elyon, was actually the princess and true monarch of the kingdom. Elyon and her family, 2 shapeshifters who'd been taking care of her since she was brought to Earth, were taken back to Meridian, and Phobos lied to her about being the good guy. Cue half a season of the main characters yelling that her creepy brother is evil and her screaming back,
"That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?"
Eventually, the truth was revealed and Phobos was defeated. Elyon completely changed Meridian's aesthetic and the day was saved. Then they got a second season and decided to be a bit more comic accurate and darker. Season 1 did a great job endearing us to the characters, but season 2 is where so many of the underrated parts of this cartoon can be found. Like episode 3, C is for Changes. One thing which did really well from as early as the first couple episodes is making the consequences of previous episodes into the driving force of the current story, and this episode may as well be called C is for Consequences. For starters, the new enemy group is made up of a bunch of the minor villains and monsters the main characters had to deal with in the first season, who chose just the most subtle name for their group.
Remember the day you first trembled before the Knights of Vengeance!
On top of that, in the last episode, the veil separating Meridian from the rest of the multiverse was brought down and the girls got a job change to Guardians of the Infinite Dimensions and a power boost from all that excess energy. So there's that to manage. Beyond that, this entire episode's plot is, wait, a whole family just vanished off the face of the earth a few months ago? Someone should call the police. And so here we are. It's really nice to see that season 2 doesn't change the formula of starting out with the villains being extra ominous as they plot their next move, even if it's just Grandma scolding the knights for failing last episode and telling them that Elyon would destroy them if they even tried. Wow, these guys are so sorry. No wonder they got replaced twice. Nerissa was just a master of "I don't want to play with you anymore." Rest in peace, Ember and Tridart. You were literally evil as sin, but you still got done dirty. But while the Guardians are powerful, they live mundane lives, and the Knights have a giant spider that can pretend to be a teenage girl and a morphing block of sand on their side. If anyone's gonna be able to get in and get them where it hurts without them noticing, it's these two. Meanwhile, Will's calculator has started talking to her and it won't shut up. You know, I think I too would be mad if my calculator was better at history than I am. That's a special kind of being told you're slow. I would still take the help though, especially if I misspelled Lincoln. But then I really think about it and I have to ask, why did she bring a calculator out during a history test? After she's sent to the principal's office for talking during that test, Will learns horrible news. Their classmate Alchemy is a good concerned citizen who cares about her friends. Now, that normally wouldn't be a bad thing, but when that involves getting the principal to call the police to look for a girl who is currently the queen of another planet, it can lead to issues. especially when the monster infiltrating your school is made aware of what's happening. Elyon, however, is finding out that being a Disney princess is only fun for the first few minutes after the movie ends, before you have to start doing all the boring parts. Now she's gotta do things like mediate the feuds between clan you don't care and clan you somehow care even less. And she's still doing a better job than Rhaenyra did with 4 years over her. How was your search for a husband? It was alright. A war might have started though. I didn't stick around to see what happened after the teenager killed that man. The girls discuss Will's new life of having electric appliances talking to her and what they should do about the police. The former gets sold fast. The latter, it doesn't seem like that much of a concern when they aren't gonna find anything. Unfortunately, they kinda forgot that Irma's dad is a cop, who is now confused as to why his daughter didn't mention that her friend has been missing for months. And we gotta give Irma a round of applause for this performance. She truly couldn't have been more suspicious if she tried. Fortunately, she gets saved by her developing mind control magic powers and convinces him to go do something else. Meanwhile, Will is threatening to kill her calculator if he keeps talking. He promises to stop talking in class, and then Sandpit steals him. You know, I know Miranda's plan is to frame the Guardians, but I can't help but think of what this must be like from her perspective. The most technologically advanced thing she's ever seen before she got here was a drawbridge. Imagine walking into Night City and going, okay, so how do I fool the police? I mean, she stole a calculator. She has no idea what that thing does. Also, I see that Heatherfield is as empty as ever. No one sees this giant ass sand monster. The streets are so empty, you'd have to ask if the marketing team behind Elyon was in charge of getting people here, complete with a budget of $3 and a dream. So all the main characters get gathered by the police to see if they know where Elyon is, and they lie their asses off. Unfortunately, they did not think to create a story of where she was beforehand, and Irma couldn't call Will because she had her phone taken away while grounded for supposedly cheating on a test because her calculator was talking to her. So yeah, none of them are able to say the same lie. It's actually amusing watching them say just the wildest places and then confidently say that someone else told them. Oh, Elyon? Yeah, she's in Nigeria right now trying kilishi and bole. Trust, ask Hay Lin. What the hell is kilishi? God, I miss Nigerian food. But let's not gloss over Detectives Medina and McTinnan. They are the detectives running this case, and frankly, they don't say enough jokes to really count as Law and Order characters. But they must find this whole thing suspicious as hell. And it's with their arrival that this really reminds me of Law & Order, because once you ignore all the magic stuff, this feels like something I'd find on the show's YouTube channel with a title like Dangerous Kids Volume 3. As the detectives wonder whether the girls are hiding something or just repeating rumors, a nice helpful girl shows up. She's scared of the 5 mean girls, but her sense of civic duty forces her to tell the police that the last time she saw Elyon, they were taking her to her house for a surprise in the basement. Irma's dad takes this confession surprisingly well considering the implications. Then again, his daughter's been acting weird and disappearing for months, so he is suspicious. But his questioning frightens her enough that she activates her powers and breaks the sink, which gives her a chance to escape. Saved by the power-up yet again, it's kind of funny to think how screwed they'd be if all of this happened last week. But not all powers are so timely. Taranee's new ability to read their minds and broadcast their thoughts would have been much more useful when they were lying to the police earlier, and Hay Lin's invisibility nearly gets her isekai'd. Meanwhile, the detectives search the basement of the Brown home and find a false wall. They leave to get the equipment to take it down, and Sandpit disassembles itself while Miranda drops the calculator, one with Will's initials. Usually, this is the point where the detectives get back down there, find the evidence, and we cut to either a trial or investigation after the suspects have been arrested. But by the power of Kandrakar, the girls are gonna get out of this one, even if the police now have very good reason to suspect that they moved something out of the basement. So Will, kind of running out of options, puts her phone, which she somehow has on her despite earlier scenes saying she didn't, in the evidence bag, locks herself in a room, transforms, and flies out the window. I just know this is gonna be the most confusing police report of these detectives' careers. The girls meet at Taranee's house. Her mom isn't a cop. She's a judge. I guess this counts as the trial portion of the episode. Will's brought Taranee's phone to life and is calling her calculator. Fortunately, the detectives have chosen to not look inside the thankfully not see-through bag, so it's still there.
Hello, I've I've got Will on line 1.
Will Vandam? You've lost your phone privileges, young lady.
It's an emergency, Ed. Put Sammy on.
Who is naming these things? But now, they finally know what's going on. Sandpit's description is obvious, and figuring out the new girl Melinda is Miranda, the shape-shifting spider monster, isn't a big leap. Honestly, remembering how she was introduced into the series is so funny. Phobos needed someone to pretend to be his sister's friend, and he pulled this demon out of his back pocket. Can she only transform into a teenage girl? And does Cedric need to be put on a list? What is it with snake people and being sus around children? Now that they know what they're really up against, the girls can formulate a plan to clear their names. Step 1. Taranee, Hay Lin, and Cornelia go fight the monsters at Elyon's house. Step 2. Irma gets home. The cops are there and they're not amused. Also, something's happening at the Brown house, so they have to go check it out. Have I mentioned that Elyon's full name was Elyon Brown?
McTeenan,
Got complaints from the Browns' neighbors. Disturbance in the backyard.
we're on it.
My first question is, oh, so there is someone out there to be disturbed by this magic fight. My second question, which is really just a bunch of questions strung together, is, disturbance? What exactly are they seeing? A walking pile of dirt slamming an Asian girl into the ground? A Blasian girl getting webbed up by a giant spider? A blonde girl starting a localized earthquake? What was this police report? Turns out, Irma still doesn't have quite a strong grip with her mind control yet. Then again, it's hard to convince people nothing's happening when one of your friends decides she wants to lead the Israelites through the wilderness and creates a pillar of fire. Meanwhile, Sandpit is treating Hay Lin like a good woman and just refusing to let her go. Taranee tries to help with some fire, but he remembers the first time they met when the Guardians turned him into a skate park and knows better than to give her the chance, so Hay Lin has to save herself. Ugh, utter woke nonsense. And I'm talking about Sandpit. Why are we pretending this walking sandbox can fight Hurricane Hay Lin? He pulls a Kakashi trying to copy the move, and just like Mr. Worldwide, he gets packed up anyway. Fortunately, before the police can notice all the tornadoes, Irma convinces them that they should go to the airport. With their new powers, the girls are able to make quick work of their opponents. Miranda can sneak someone who is getting telepathic warnings and also can turn invisible, and Sandpit gets stuffed into a Spider-Man side character movie when Cornelia realizes she has telekinesis now. So, realizing that fighting the Guardians 3-on-2 was a terrible idea, the two are forced to run away. Imagine if all 5 of them had showed up. They would have been Zach Choi's food, cooked, baked, fried, and then deep fried just for fun. So now, the question is, how are the Guardians gonna get out of this mess? Well, when the police get to the airport, they see Will.
Look, it's her.
Damn, who does she think she is? Harry Osborn? There is one important thing to note about this crime that they've been accused of. No crime was actually committed. Elyon is fine. And when the detectives get to the airport, they see what seems to be her and her family arriving from a long extravagant vacation with her cousin Caleb and their disgusting dog, Blunk. And like that, there really isn't any reason for them to be there because the missing family's been found. And we're just gonna brush aside how suspicious and confusing this investigation has been. False wall? What about it? Pillar of fire? Who cares? The complete lack of a paper trail to figure out where these people even disappeared to in the first place? And they're busy right now. Sometimes the writing for this show is just really good, and other times it pretty much shrugs its shoulders and tells you, yeah, that's the end of the plot line, thank you for showing up. So Elyon and Caleb are gonna be going to school for the time being and commuting back and forth between dimensions. Caleb's still in the doghouse with Cornelia though. Interdimensional dating is never easy. And Alchemy gets to welcome her friend back. The concerned citizen gets closure. You know, now that I really think about it, it's actually kind of wild that Alchemy was the first and only person to be concerned. I like Alchemy, though I'm sure it's largely because her name is Alchemy. Like, what kind of name is that? Meanwhile, Irma's dad apologizes for being so accusatory and she acknowledges that she has been acting weird. But they do make up. As for Will and her mom,
she hasn't adjusted to Heatherfield. I'd like to request a transfer. Out of town.
That's a consequence for a later episode. And so, that's how the Guardians of the Infinite Dimensions dodged jail time. I sure hope that that's the worst thing that happens to them. Oh no. Shout out to my patrons, A and Skyman. This was something different. I wanted to try my hands at a more comedy-based video, and it's been a while since I fed my witch nostalgia. How was it? Tell me down below, and while you're at it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more. Thank you, and good day.